Welcome to Table for One. I'm the narrator, and in today's video, I'll be playing a solo game of Voidfall. So in this video, I'm going to play Fall of Civilization, which is the 8th and final solo scenario in the original compendium with the base game of Voidfall. So to date, this is the only one I haven't played on the channel yet, and I will be using House Kradmor. Let's get rolling. Alright, and I'm all set up to play Fall of Civilization with Kradmor, starting Origin B. This is the last solo scenario in the compendium of the Voidfall base game. I phrase it that way because I know there's an expansion coming, so there's probably going to be more stuff. But this is also the first Voidfall solo playthrough or a Voidfall video of any kind that I'm playing with my new camera. So it's in 4K. Hopefully you can see everything. That would be awesome this time. And so I'll run through some of the setup stuff real quick. I am playing as like the pink color, but I've replaced my my cubes, my Fleet Power cubes, with neutronium, the metal cubes from Anachrony, just because they're metal and they're fun to play with. So you might notice that. On the Crisis board here, I am playing on normal mode or medium mode. My two level 0 crises are for my military track, I must improve my starting tech, and on my economic track, I need to have 8 or more total glory. And then for the tech tableau, I really drew some interesting houses. It was pretty broken glass heavy. So I've got Astrotron with deep space missiles and sentries, Marquelos with autonomous drones and trade nexus, Cheveus with dreadnoughts and decontamination chambers, and Xenor with destroyers and cloning. There are 2 fallen houses on this map. I drew Marquelos there and Cheveus there. Again, I'm playing as Kradmor B, so my starting tech is Purifier, so I've got that here. So when I play Temptation Focus, I can spend 1 science to remove a corruption marker. And then I've got the improved Purifier here. And my house ability is when I remove a corruption marker from my house mat, I gain 2 energy. And when I remove one from a sector, then I gain 2 science. So I've had some trouble playing with Kradmor in the past, but it's been a little while, so I hope I do better this time. Kradmor has 2 special starting focus cards, Temptation and Production. And so the Temptation one, only one of these has a cost of taking a corruption. And again, with Purifier, I can spend a science when playing Temptation to remove a corruption. So that's kind of neat, and then I'll get resources for that. So I probably want to play this. And as usual, you can take a focus, an action off your preferred focus card on Temptation. But you'll notice House Kradmor only has 1 preferred focus card. It is Conquest. And that's not one of their special cards. So it's a regular Conquest card. But that's pretty unusual to just have the 1 preferred focus. And then the production card here, interesting, having to take a corruption for this option here, but you can remove a corruption for this option here. And the middle one, advance the econ track or produce food and materials. That's pretty interesting too. I really wish that was an and or. I don't know how I'm gonna manage that, because I'd kind of like to go up maybe the econ and civ tracks, or econ and society rather, but we'll see. Of course, my innovation card is off to the side because we don't use that in cycle 1, and I do need to finish setting up. So a couple things to point out. Of course, I've already moved up the econ track and you don't get the bonus during setup. That stuff's all baked in. I also get 1 dominance agenda. When this happens during setup, this is the only time you don't get to take either the top 1 or the top 2 from the stack. You must take the top 1 from this stack without looking at it. This goes into your hand. So I've got that now. It is Mercantile Governance. So I get 5 influence if this is slotted at the end of the cycle, and I have a pure statecraft track at tier 2 or higher, and then 1 influence for every 2 of the 3 basic resources that I have. So it's food, materials, and energy. And then I also gain a trade token, again without any sort of bonus. That's already baked in, and it's fine to just place it on the agenda card. And then I also get to remove a corruption from my house mat. So I take this and it's just gone, but this is still the setup, so I'm not going to gain the 2 energy that should be baked into the card already. So now that setup is complete, I can slot my starting agenda. I'll put the trade token on it. Hopefully you can see these things. I will say it's super nice with this new camera. It is about a foot below my ceiling, which is, I used to have to take my old camera and lift it all the way up to the ceiling to be able to film this. It's about a foot closer, but with the lens that's on it, I've got way more space. So basically the entire width of my table is in frame here. It's a 5-foot table, so not nearly as cramped as I usually am. Now this map is interesting because it has 3 safe havens, which is a lot of cubes, but it's got 2 of the 2 cube safe havens. So that's a quick way. Or a faster way to hopefully get a couple of these bonuses, which I'm sure I'm going to need. And then one other funny quirk of this map that I pointed out on Board Game Geek a while ago, maybe a year ago, and got confirmation just to make sure I was understanding things right. This is how it's supposed to be set up. This void storm here is doing absolutely nothing because it's separating these 2 sectors, but they're both touching a wormhole A, so they're connected anyway. So this is completely superfluous. So I'm just going to take it back off the map to not confuse myself because those sectors are in fact touching. So it's probably something along the lines of one of the wormholes was not there at one point, and then they, during testing they added it and just forgot to remove the void storm or something. So no big deal, but that's why that is not there now. And of course, one more thing to point out is that I've got components that you may not have. These come from the Etsy store that I co-own with my friends. There's a link in the description. It is Brain Bucket Games. And so that's going to include these fleet tokens, the glory tokens, bounty and reclaim tokens. I use a drawback system for those, as well as the agenda tray, which is pretty nice, and the tech tray up there, plus a bunch of other stuff that you probably won't see in the video, like trays for organizing the houses and the techs and all that sort of stuff. So if you want to hop over to Etsy, you can pick that stuff up. But I'm on an abbreviated schedule today, so I can't spend quite as much time thinking. I gotta get started here. One last note: my starting agenda, I get 3 influence for every pure sector with 5 population. 6 influence for every pure population with 6 population. What did I just say? 6 influence for every pure sector with 6 population. And then 3 influence if my economic track is pure, I multiply the track times the tier. So I guess I really want to get that econ track up because that could be worth as much as 12 influence on that starting agenda. But let's start the game by revealing the Galactic event for Cycle 1. And as I'm reaching over the heroic focus cards, I remembered when I drew these, I drew Progress, Prosperity, and Innovation. And you can't have Innovation the heroic focus card in Cycle 1. So I just set it aside, put it on the top of the stack. So it will be coming out as the first card in Cycle 2. So just something to remember, but got heroic development as a replacement. And the starting Galactic event is Straight into Hell. So we're going to have 5 rounds this Galactic cycle. And this is a pretty interesting event. So this first part is I can either gain a corruption to gain a value 1 glory token, or I can recall a fleet power. And then throughout the cycle, whenever I deploy 1 or more fleet power, I must either take a corruption or spend 1 material per deployed fleet power. And that would be in addition to the 1 that I have to spend if I'm deploying dreadnoughts, just as an example. And then scoring at the end of the cycle, if I have no corruption on my house mat, I can either take a number 2 value 2 glory token or improve one of my glory tokens by 1. Or if I have 2 or more sectors that are pure and each of them has 2 or more fleet power, then I can gain a tech. And so this one I've currently accomplished. That's the case right now. And then this one I would just have to deploy 1 more fleet power. So we shall see. But let's put this here, and I need to still resolve this top part. I don't think I want to recall a fleet power. I think I'd rather take a corruption and gain a glory token. But I can take the corruption anywhere. So I'm going to take it here on this outpost sector. And then the glory tokens, we've got this case for glory tokens, so they're all nice and organized. I need a 1, goes there, put the lid back on the case. And so let us start with the first alert card. It is a 1, and the crisis is a general crisis. This is Tooth and Nail. After you build a pure installation, choose to also decrease the population in the same sector. Otherwise, deactivate a fleet power is the immediate penalty. I'm not really interested in any of that, so let me grab my focus cards here and figure out what I'm going to do. Now, let me take a look at this real quick. Yeah, I don't know how I did that. I just realized looking down at the map, this is supposed to be a 1. There we go, not a 3. All right, I've come up with some sort of plan. I don't know if it's a good one, but it is a series of events that I'm going to do. And the first will be to play Prosperity in order to take Heroic Prosperity. And I will spend a trade token to take all 3 actions. And I'll start with the top action, which is Flourish. I'm going to spend 2 resources. Let's make it 2 energy. So I go from 5 to 3 in order to advance my econ track. So I do that, and I get to gain a wealth agenda. And I think I rather like the one on top. Technological Singularity is one of my favorites. So let's grab that. So that'll reward me for having 4 more techs and having 2 pure sectors as my multiplier. And then I get to gain 4 resources. I think I'm going to gain 4 credits. So I go from 3 to 7. That seems prudent because now for the second one, the cost is I have to remove a non-home guild. And I'm going to get rid of this Bankers Guild. Now I can gain a trade token. So let's do that. And I'll put this one here. This one is gained. Whoopsie. What reward do I want? I think I'm going to take, man, that's a choice. I think I'm going to take 2 resources. I'm going to take an energy. Nope, just kidding. I'm going to take a material and a food. So I've got 6 food, 3 energy, 4 material. That was my trade bonus. And then the other action is I can remove a harbinger. And let's take this one. I think I'm more likely to go up here than down here. And then the third action has no cost. I can either gain an agenda or I can build an installation. And I'm going to gain an agenda, and I want a might agenda. So I'm going to take the top 2. I don't want industrial conglomerates, I don't think. So we've got safeguard policy and mining consortium. And I think I'll take safeguard policy. I'm not like super crazy about any of these, but there we go. Mix up the order on those so they kind of match. And that was pretty good, I think. So this gets returned to the Galactic board. This one I can slot on my starting agenda. I can get rid of the heroic card. And then I don't love it, but I'm just going to deactivate the fleet power to deal with that one. So that crisis is gone. I can get rid of the alert card. And we're on to the second turn. So let's draw the alert card. And we have a level 2 alert. So the crisis is an economic crisis called Debts Come Due. Before you spend a trade token, choose to also spend 2 credits. The immediate penalty being you need to deactivate a fleet power or add 1 Voidborn fleet power to every open rift. I'm kind of okay with either solving it or adding a Voidborn to the rift, but we'll see how this goes. So I'm going to start now by playing Progress in order to take Heroic Progress. And I'm going to use a trade token again to take all 3 actions. So do I want to solve this before I guess let's return it to the Galactic board. But I think I'd rather keep my credits. I'm just going to add 1 to the Rift at the end. Pretty confident on that. But I'll start with this top action, which is free, and that is to build a Scientist Guild and then produce science. So I'm going to put my Scientist Guild here in this sector. So the level goes from 0 to 2. My yield is now 1, and I produce science. So I go from 3 to 4 science. Then this next card, or this next action, because I'm just going to go down. I don't have to go in order, but I am. I'm going to spend 1 food, so I go from 6 to 5, and I have to deactivate a fleet power. Again, so I have no active fleet power. I don't love that, but now I can remove a corruption and gain a tech. So I'm going to start by removing this corruption, and I'm removing it from a sector, so I gain 2 science for that. That's House Kradmor ability, so I go from 4 science to 6, and then I can gain a tech. Oh, and I can't interrupt myself mid-action, but I was supposed to pair that card with this agenda too, so also doing this. And I'm going to take Destroyers after some deliberation, so that gets me 4 influence. So I go from my starting 10 up to 14, and I can now deploy into Destroyer fleets, and I can deploy 1 now. So I'm deploying 1. Oh, but I don't have any fleet power. That was not a good move. Okay, bad move, narrator. Take a different card. Let's take Cloning, which also has +4 influence, so I still get the 4. I don't have to reset that. So now when I raise a pure population, I can also gain 1 credit or activate 1 fleet power. Cloning is always a good thing to get, and right now I can gain a credit or activate a fleet power. And let's activate 1 fleet power, because that's clearly a bottleneck. And then lastly, I'm taking this action down here, Restore. I need to spend a glory token, so I'll spend this 1. And now I can deploy a fleet power, I can regroup, and I can remove a crisis card. So let's deploy first. I'll deploy this to my home sector for that scoring potential up there. And then because of that ongoing galactic event, by deploying, I need to either take a corruption or spend a material. You know what, I think I'll take a corruption and I'll place it here on my house mat, on my agenda slot, and then I can regroup, but I'm not going to, and then I can remove a crisis card. I think I'll get rid of this starting economic focus, this level 0 crisis, to have 8 or more total glory. So now I can resolve this agenda card, and I can either increase my lowest track, which would be either my society track or my statecraft track, my choice, or I can gain a trade token. And I think I'm going with the trade token. So let's take one of those. And for the reward, I will again take 1 food, so I go from 5 to 6, and 1 material, so I go from 4 to 5. And so now I need to return this to the Galactic board. And I can slot this one, this trade token, and I can slot this agenda. The heroic focus card goes away. And again, I just returned a trade token to the Galactic board, so do I want to spend the 2 credits to just make the card go away? And I think my answer is no. I think I'm going to add 1 Voidborn, add to every open rift and deactivate a Voidborn fleet power, or one of my fleet power. It's both, not either or. I do not want to deactivate. So in that case, yes, I will spend the 2 credits to make this go away. So I go from 7 down to 5. Kind of stinks. That's a steep price, but I don't want that to be ongoing, and I didn't think it was worth it to gain the catastrophe token for that, so that's fine. So now we're going into turn 3, grab a new alert card. It is a 1. So the new crisis is a general crisis called Evolving Enemy. After you gain a technology, choose to also add a Voidborn fleet power on an adjacent Voidborn sector. Otherwise, the immediate penalty is to recall the fleet power or add a Voidborn fleet power to each open rift. Okay, so I'm pretty confident I won't be gaining a tech this turn. I'll think about that one. In the meantime, I will play production, and again, I will use a trade token to take all 3 actions. And also again, I'm going to pair it with an agenda. This one is Technological Singularity. I really like that one. And for my first action, I'm going to take this bottom one. So I need to gain a corruption and spend 1 energy. So let's spend the energy. I go from 3 to 2, and I will gain my corruption here. And then I can build a guild and advance my society track. So let's do the society track. I'm going to advance that, and I can increase a pure population. So let's have this one go from 2 to 3. So food production, that level goes up by 1, so my yield goes from 1 to 2. Science goes level 2 to level 3, so that yield also goes from 3 to 2. And because I have cloning and I increased a pure population, I can either gain 1 credit or activate 1 fleet power. And let's activate a fleet power because I'm struggling with that. And it looks like I bumped that. And I can build a guild. And let's push these farmers guilds at the moment. So that goes up by another 3. Up to 6, so my yield is now 4. And then I will take this action here, and so I can either produce food and materials, or I can advance, that's the word. I can advance my economic track. So I'll advance the econ track, so that goes up to here, which then advances again, and that gains me another trade token. So I will grab this one, and I'm going to take, I think, 2 materials this time. So I go from 5 to 7. And next I'm going to take my agenda action. And I went back and forth on this for a little bit. I didn't know if I wanted a farmer's guild or an engineer's guild. And I'm going with the farmer's guild. So I'm going to build that there. So that level goes up 1 more time from 6 to 7. My yield is still 4. And then I produce that resource type. So I produce food. So I go from 6 to 10. So I think I'm going to need that to hold me over for a while, because this action is really not letting me produce food or materials if I want to keep advancing this econ track. So that action is done, but now I'm going to take this last action, so that costs 1 food, so I go from 10 to 9, 1 material from 7 to 6, and that allows me to produce energy, and my energy production is 0, so that's why I thought about maybe putting a guild there, but it wouldn't have produced that much with a population of 1. So I think that was a decent choice to make. And now I can remove a corruption, and I'm going to remove this one. And since it's coming off of my house mat for House Kradmor, I gain 2 energy. So I go from 2 to 4. So that was all of my actions. I get to put this trade token back on the Galactic board. I can slot this one here. I can slot this agenda right there. And oh, that's not a special production. It's just my unique house production card. It's not a heroic one. So what do I want to do about this crisis? And my econ track is pretty high up already, so I can gain and improve tech. And when I do, I'll grab this one, my starting tech, and that'll get rid of this and this. So I think I'll make it ongoing, but I'll put on the economic track, get rid of the alert card, and that was 3 turns. Okay, so we got 2 more to go. Let's draw the next alert card. Another 1. And the crisis is General Crisis. While resolving a prosperity focus, have 1 or more scientist guilds. Otherwise, burn or consume a basic tech. I'm sure I can get that one done, but not this cycle because I've already played prosperity. So what am I going to play instead? Well, I think it's going to be politics. And I'm going to take the top action and the bottom action. So let's start with the top action. Inspire. So I pay 1 science. I go from 6 down to 5, and I can advance my statecraft track. So that goes up to here, and I can build an installation. And I will build a sector defense right here. That seems like a great idea to me. And then I'll take this bottom action. I have to spend 1 credit, so I go down to 4. This is called control. And I gain a trade token. Keep those things moving. And for my bonus this time, I think I will again take 1 food. So I go from 9 to 10, and 1, you know what? Actually, no, I'm going to leave that at I will. 9 to 10 and 1 material, 6 to 7. Okay, and I can move a corruption if I so choose, but I do not want to move a corruption. So I will take this crisis card, make it ongoing, get rid of the alert card. I've got 1 more turn this cycle. So the last alert is a 1. And I guess I knew that because I already had the 2, so it's only 1s. Oh, what is this? Cleansing Fire. I hate this one. Either remove a corruption from civilization track or move a corruption between civilization tracks. Yeah, it's remove or move from a civilization track. Otherwise, the immediate penalty is to take a corruption, and I really don't want to do that at the end of the cycle. Oh, and I needed to slot that trade token. That goes right there. Okay. Well, in the meantime, I am playing House Kradmor's Special Temptation card, and I am not going to pair it with this agenda, even though I could. I'd probably score a couple of points off of it. I wouldn't score for this first part. I might get like, I don't know, I was figuring like 6 or 7 points from this second part, but it would cost me the 2 food for the upkeep. And in addition, I'm not going to take that action right now, and I might want that action next cycle. So I'd like to have it available to pair with Temptation or Innovation in cycle 2. So I'm going to take the top 2 actions. As much as I'd like to take this one, I can't afford to take another corruption. So first I'll start with my Purifier tech. I'm playing Temptation Focus. I can spend 1 science. I go from 5 to 4, and now I can remove a corruption. So I'm going to remove the one that I have, and now I get to gain 2 energy for that. So I go from 4 energy to 6. And now I'll take the middle action. So it's free. I get to advance my lowest civilization track, and I have 2 of them that are tied here. So I get to pick, and I'm going to pick this one, my society track. So that goes up. I get to raise a pure population. I got a little mark on there. Pure population. So I'm going to do this one. It goes from 3 to 4. So my food yield goes up twice from 7 to 9. So my level goes up twice from 7 to 9. So my yield is 6. And science goes from 3 to 4. So my science yield is now 3. And then I can do the Galactic Peak. So I'm going to draw the top 2 cards off of the Cycle 2 Galactic Event deck and pick one. And just a quick note, this card says and between those 2 actions, the Advanced Track and the Galactic Peak, but it's supposed to be an and or. You don't have to do both. But anyway, here's the top 2 cards for Cycle 2. We've got Dark Ages and Growing Menace. So either 5 or 6 turns in the next cycle. And looking at the 2, Growing Menace looks a little bit more punishing with what's going on here, and I can't take advantage of the swapping resources between players. But even though it's more punishing, this one has 1 more turn, and I like these scoring even better, and I guess it's both. It would encourage me to go get some reclaim tokens, which might be a stretch from where I'm at, but also I can remove a corruption if I have no catastrophes, which I frequently don't, and I get rewards for removing corruption, so that could be nice. I don't really want to have 8 or more upkeep, although I probably could pretty easily and gain an agenda from it. That's not so bad. Yeah, maybe we'll take Dark Ages. So Growing Menace will go on the bottom of the stack, Dark Ages goes on the top, and then I will take this action here. So that costs 1 credit. I go from 4 to 3, and 1 science. I go from also 4 to 3, and I can increase a pure population. So I'm going to do this one again from 4 to 5. So let's take care of my production levels, and then I've got to do cloning twice. But food goes from 9 to 11, so that's already up to a yield of 10, which is great. And science goes up again, level 5, yield of 3. And yeah, I just increased that population this turn with this action, which raised this. So I need to do cloning twice. Do I want to gain a credit each time or activate a fleet power or one of each? I think I'll activate 2 fleet power. That could be really handy to have. And then I can also take an action from my preferred focus, which is only Conquest for Kradmor. So if we take a look at Conquest, I think I'm going to take this action here, which is going to cost 1 energy. I go from 6 to 5, and 1 credit from 3 to 2. And I can move a corruption. I don't have any corruption. And I can gain an agenda. And I think I'm going to gain this dominance agenda here. I like it better than this one. This is the one I'd rather slot. So we'll replace this. And now I can, if I'm going to play Temptation and Innovation in the same cycle, I can play this one first and then play this one. Or vice versa, I can use this just for the action later. But that's the one I'd rather slot. I think it is more likely to score well for me. So that was all of my actions. I now need to deal with this Crisis card. And I'm pretty annoyed about it, but I'm just going to take the penalty. I'm taking a Corruption here to my house mat, because I don't want it ongoing and I can find a way to deal with it pretty quickly here. So now we go to the evaluation phase of cycle 1. We start by taking care of the crisis board. So first we need a skirmish at +1. So I've got 1 corruption here on my house mat. This is going to make it a skirmish of 2. This is the only target sector. So 2 Voidborn fleet power come in. 1 gets taken out by the sector defense, so there's 1 left. So I've got 2 initiative. The 1 has 1, so I fire first. They're gone. They have no initiative. They can't fire back. I win the skirmish. So good for me. And now the economic track, I need to spend 1 material, so I go from 7 to 6. 1 energy, I go from 5 to 4. And 1 science, I go from 3 to 2. And now I need to take care of upkeep. I've got 1 from this from these 3 guilds here, and then 2, 3 from this agenda card that doesn't have a trade token. So I can do that with food. I go from 10 to 7, no big deal. And now we check for safe havens. I'm not quite there, but I'm going to get this one, and that's going to be really nice. It's going to be at 6 pure population with 3 guilds. But now we go to the Galactic event, and I don't have 0 corruption on my house mat, but I do have 2 pure sectors with at least 2 fleet power each. So the reward for that is I can gain a tech. And as I mentioned earlier, I have unlocked an improved tech. So I'm going to take improved Purifier because no other improved techs are available right now. So I gain 6 influence for that. Go from 14 to 20. There we go. And I can remove a corruption as an immediate bonus. So let's remove this one from my house mat. And that gains me 2 energy. I go from 4 to 6. And I can deploy a fleet power. And since we're still here, there's still steps left in the evaluation phase of cycle 1. I argue we're still in cycle 1, so this ongoing thing is still going on. When I deploy a fleet power, I either need to take a corruption or spend a material. But that's all right. I'm going to deploy here, and I'll spend a material. So I go from 6 to 5, and now I can fully slot this. And now when I play Temptation Focus, I can spend 1 science to remove a corruption up to twice. And when I deploy a fleet power, I can instead choose to remove a corruption marker from the same sector. So had this been corrupted, I could have done that now. But that's pretty nice. So let's look at this crisis here. After you gain a tech, choose to also add 1 Voidborn fleet power on an adjacent Voidborn sector. So I'm going to put 1 fleet power there, and that solves this crisis. That one goes down. And then this is to gain my improved version of my starting tech, so I've done that too. So 2 crises solved in that 1 motion. So I think I'm in really good shape going into cycle 2. So now, I need to score. Jeez, I was gonna reset. I need to score my agendas. Okay, so for each pure sector I have with 5 pure population, I've got 1. I gain 3 influence, 23. That would be 6 influence if I can get 1 more pop there. And then 3 times my economic track, if it's pure, whatever tier it's in. It's in tier 1, so that's going to be 3 influence. So I go to 26. And if I have 3 or more pure sector defenses or star bases, I do not. And then for each each pure fleet power I have 2 influence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 10 influence. That's great. 36, okay. Kind of forgot what my scoring conditions were here. And then if I have 4 techs, I don't. But for each pair of pure sectors I have, I get 5 influence. So another 5. So I go from 36 to 41. That's fine. That's right on track. Now this particular level does start with a little more Voidborn influence than the others. Most of the scenarios in the compendium for solo have one rift, which is worth 30, and then 4 harbingers, so that's another 40, and 2 safe havens, so those are 40 together. So that comes out to 110. This one had 1 rift, 4 harbingers, and 3 safe havens. So that's an extra 20 influence for the Voidborn off the bat, just off the major items. I suppose another 3 for the other fallen house too. So I've got a little ways to go, and I don't want to let up yet. But now I can prepare for cycle 2. So I will grab the next Galactic event, which we've already looked at. I will replace the heroic focus cards. We know one of them is going to be innovation. We'll unlock the improved text up there, remove a trade token, refresh the alert and crisis decks. I'll get all my focus cards back and add innovation back in, and I think that's about it. So I'll do all that, and I'll see you on the other side. Here we go. All right, so I'm set up now for cycle 2. I did all the preparation stuff. The Galactic event is already flipped over because we knew what that was going to be, so let's resolve that. We need to add a reclaim token and a Voidborn fleet power to one adjacent Voidborn sector. And my only option is this one here. So this one really filled up, getting pretty boxed in for a 2 population sector. I'm going to have to either blast past that or get through the 2 sector defenses there. And then I need to add a corruption to the might agenda offer. So we just add that right there. And I can spend up to 6 science to gain the same amount of credits. And I currently have 2 science and 2 credits. I think I'm just going to leave it like that. So again, looking at the goals for this Galactic event, if I have 8 or more satisfied upkeep, I can get an agenda. And if I have 8 or more pure installations, I gain 8 influence. So it's definitely the top half will be my goal. I've got 3 agendas slotted, so I can slot 1 more, and that would be 8 by itself, so long as I don't have any trade tokens at the end. Plus I've got 1 here. So there's ways for me to do that, and I've got lots of food production, so I'm pretty confident I can cover the upkeep. And getting to pick another agenda going into cycle 3 would be really nice. So that's my aim. I've got 5 turns to do it. Let's draw the first alert card. And it is a level 3 alert. And I realized when I was making the alert stack for this cycle, I had 1 card left, and it must have been a war card. I forgot there was a war card in there. So we've got 2 war cards out there. Right now we've got a level 3 crisis. Let's draw that card. And it is a military crisis that says keep a dominance agenda, and after using its action to successfully invade a sector with 5 or more pure population. That is going to be a tall order right now. Otherwise, I can add a harbinger to an adjacent sector and skirmish. I'm not really a fan of that card. Saving grace is what that's called. So let's figure out what I'm going to do. The 3 heroic focus cards this cycle are innovation, which we knew was coming, and then conquest and production. All right, some sort of plan again. Struggled with this a little bit, but I want to start with my special production card. And I'm just going to take 2 actions, starting with this bottom one. So the cost is I need to take a corruption. So I'll do that and add it here to my house mat on my agenda spot. And I need to pay 1 energy, so I go from 6 to 5. And also, I realized a minute ago, this hasn't affected anything, but at the very beginning of the game, I removed a Banker's Guild, and I never lowered my level. So let's do that now. I never produced any credits since then, so it didn't matter. But anyway, now I get to build a guild and advance my society track. So I will build a guild the only place I can, right here in my home sector. So that makes the level of my science go up by 1. My yield goes from 3 to 4, which is nice. And now I advance my society track, so it goes to here, and then advances again. And now I get to increase a pure population, so it's going to be this one to get me a 6 population sector. That's great. Food production goes up 2 levels, so it's maxed out. And science goes up once, so it's level 7, production level of 4, or yield of 4. And because I have cloning, I can either gain a credit or activate a fleet power. And I think this time I would rather take a credit, so let's go from 2 to 3. Now, let's take this action, which is free, and I'm just going to take the bottom part, because it's an ore. I'm not going to produce food and materials. I'm going to advance my econ track, so that goes up here. And now I can produce 2 different resources. That's what that special is. So I'm going to produce food and science. So food goes from 7. I produce 15. So it's just going to max out at 15. And then I gain 3 influence for overproducing. So I'm up to 44 now from 41. And I'm going to produce science. So I go from 2 to 6. That's good to have. Great. And that was my 2 actions. Now I've got to take care of this terrible crisis card. And I was really considering taking a catastrophe token, but I think I'll take the penalty. So I need to add a Harbinger to an adjacent Voidborn sector. That's going to be here. And then I need to skirmish. So again, skirmish is going to be, there's 0 things here, so just at 1. So the Voidborn come in here, they get hit by the sector defense, I win the skirmish. So that's done and over with. Let's get rid of it. And now we're going in the second turn, so we draw a new alert card. And we have a level 2 alert. And this one is a general crisis called Forward Planning. Gain an agenda while already having 1 or more agendas in hand. That's perfect. I would love to do that. And in fact, I think I'm going to do it right away. So the immediate penalty would be to remove 2 non-home installations, which I don't even have. So for my next focus card, I'm going to play Innovation, and I'm going to use that to take Heroic Innovation. Love innovation. And I am going to spend a trade token to take all 3 of these actions, and we might as well pair it with one of these agenda cards. And this is the one I would like to keep, so I will slot it, or plan on slotting it. And so I'll start with the top action. It's going to cost 4 resources. I'm going to spend 4 food. I go from 15 to 11. And I produce credits, which is none, and science, which I go from 6 to 10. I produce 4 science. And I can also now gain a basic tech. And I went back and forth for a while on whether I wanted dreadnoughts or destroyers. But I will go with destroyers. And so that's going to be 4 influence. 44 up to 48. And now I can deploy a destroyer to my home sector. So 1 destroyer deployed to my home sector. All right. Now I'm going to take this second action, which is free. I can remove a Voidborn fleet power from an adjacent sector. So let's get rid of this. And I can gain an improved tech. So I'm going to take improved destroyers. And I can do that because I've unlocked 1, 2, 3 improved techs. So I get 6 influence for that. I go from 48, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 54. And I can activate 1 fleet power. That's very nice. And now I've got the improved ability of the destroyers right there to do 1 approach damage as an attacker. So that's nice. And now I'm going to take this bottom action. So I need to spend 2 resources. Let's spend 2 science. I go from 10 to 8. And I'm now realizing I made a mistake earlier. That last crisis card, that level 3 crisis, I meant to make it ongoing so I can get rid of it here instead of taking the penalty of adding a Harbinger to that adjacent sector. So that was kind of a waste. That was I just gave the Voidborn 10 points for no reason. All right, I'll live with it. Let's gain an agenda. And I think I'll take a support agenda just because I haven't seen one of those yet this game, and maybe I'll get a good one. I don't know. Oh, this one could be good. The Wellspring Initiative. So I have 1 or fewer corruption, and I seem to be doing that. I've just got the 1 right now. I had, I think, 1 at the end of last cycle, maybe 0. And then a multiplier for every 2 pure farmers guilds get 5 influence. So I can easily get 16 influence off of that card, whereas Heavy Industry is rewarding you for having engineers and miners guilds along with sectors with pure bankers guilds, and that's not really what I'm doing. So I don't know if I'm going to keep this. I'm obviously taking it into hand and I'm going to play it. I don't know if I'll slot it. We'll just see when I get there. But I've now gained an agenda while having an agenda in hand. So I solved this crisis. And I find that the more I play this game, the more likely I am to solve that one. I generally have some agendas in hand at all times now. And I may as well just get rid of this because I got to get rid of something. So I guess it's that one, which is fine. All I had to do was play Prosperity to make that one go away. But that was all of the actions on Heroic Innovation. Well, I guess also I could potentially invade. Do I want to do that? And short answer, yes, I do. But I can't win anywhere without abandoning this sector, and I certainly don't want to do that. So I'm going to forego that action and slot the agenda. So we'll just put that there. And this goes back to the Galactic board. This goes away, this heroic card. And let's grab the alert card for turn 3. All right, we've got a war card. So at the end of this turn, I would resolve the crisis board with a skirmish at +1 Voidborn fleet power, and if I successfully defend, I add a Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent sector. All right, not the end of the world, but also don't love it. So let's see what I can do about this. I am going to play Conquest, and I'm going to replace it with Heroic Conquest. And let's see, I'm going to pair it with this agenda that I just grabbed. And I'm going to take the top 2 actions, starting with the middle action. So I need to spend 1 energy, so I go from 5 to 4. 1 credit, I go from 3 to 2. And I can regroup and take an agenda card. So let's regroup. I'm going to make a little room here. I'm going to move these here and also this here, which is more than the sector can hold, but I don't have to resolve that until the end of my turn. So that was a move of 1, 2, 3. I had 5 moves on a standard regroup, so that's fine. And now I can take an agenda card, and I wouldn't mind grabbing a might agenda, but now is not the time for corruption before going into this war. So I'm going to take the top 2 wealth agendas, I think, because these are always good to have as a means of getting some resources. Let's put them up here so I don't confuse them with what's in my hand. I have Self-Sustaining Campaign and Augmented Armada. And this one is rewarding me for having a lot of glory and credits, which I don't. This one rewards me for having 2 or more pure fleet power of different fleet types, which I do. And what are those? Reclaim tokens, multiplier of reclaim tokens. Neither of these I think is going to score me very well, but I'll take that one. Chances are at least better on that one. And it gives me, if nothing else, a free action I can take later. So now I will take this action on top, and it's going to have to be 1 food. So I go from 11 to 10, and then 2 energy. I go from 4 to 2, and I can invade, and then, assuming I win the invasion, I can remove a corruption from that sector. So I'm going to invade this sector here. I think that was probably clear. I'm going to move in these fleet power that I brought in from my home sector. So I have... there are no sector defenses or anything, but I have an improved destroyer, so that's going to do 1 approach damage to the Voidborn. And now we add up initiative. I have 1, 2, and this one is worth another 2. Destroyers are worth 1 each, and then 1 more for having any destroyers in total. So it's 4 initiative to 1. I fire first. That's the last of the Voidborn fleet power, so they can't return fire. And now I have won the combat. So let's take this glory. We'll score my 3 glory. So I go from 54 to 57. And because of this Heroic Conquest card, I also purify this sector. And because I removed a corruption from a sector, I gain 2 science. So I go from 8 up to 10. And I've got a reclaim token here, so let's draw from one of those. Again, this is from the Etsy store, this reclaim bag. It's got all the original cardboard tokens in it because this is 3D printed blank. Makes setup go quicker, so I just draw 1 out of the bag, and I get, I can build a banker's guild, so I might as well do that. I don't think it's what I would have built by choice, but for a freebie, it's fine. So now my credit level goes up 2, so I've got a yield of 1. Not super helpful, but it could be fine. Now I got to do something with that Harbinger, huh? Well, that's going on the econ track, because I've seemed to have that pretty under control, surprisingly, because that's where I typically struggle with Kradmor. And so those were these 2 actions, and now I'm going to take this agenda action. I can activate a fleet power, and now build an installation. And I'm throwing a sector defense right there. That seems like a good idea. And now I need to handle this war card. So we're going to skirmish. I've got no modifiers there. 1 corruption on my house mat. And the Voidborn are going to get +1 as a modifier, so they're going to skirmish somewhere at 2. And this is now the only valid target sector. So they're going to come in here at 2. They're going to lose 1 on the way in. I'll have the initiative take out the other one. So I defended the skirmish, and now I need to add a Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent Voidborn sector. Let's just dump that over here, because I don't plan on going there. Now I need to resolve the economic board. That's going to be here, so that's going to cost me now 1 material, go from 5 to 4, and 1 energy, go from 2 to 1, getting low on energy. So now I need to do something with this agenda, and I'm actually going to slot it. I'm going to get rid of this dominance one that I just slotted a minute ago, because I think this one's going to score better and more easily as well. So this will go here, and the heroic card goes away, and this war card is solved. And now let's see, how many turns was that? That was 3. I got 2 more to go. So let's draw the next alert card. And it's a level 2 crisis. We have a general crisis. This is lost cargo. After you deploy, choose to also spend 5 basic resources in any combination. You may not use credits. Otherwise, return a trade token to the Galactic board. Don't love that one. So I will take a minute to think about what I'm going to do, because my intent was to play Prosperity next to get rid of the Crisis card that required Prosperity, but I don't need to do that anymore, so that frees up a card for me. I'll almost certainly play Temptation, so what else do I want to play? Okay, I've got it. I am going to play Temptation, and this is going to be awesome. Or at least I think it will. Let me take a look. Yeah, I think it will be awesome. So let me pair it with this agenda, and I will also be taking all 3 actions using my trade token. So I'm going to start with this bottom action. So I need to take a corruption, and I'm going to add that here to this sector. Okay, and now I can activate a fleet power. I can deploy a fleet power to my home sector. So let's grab another one of these guys. And I can produce one type of resource. And it's terribly inefficient, but I'm going to produce credits. I think I have to. Let me take a look here. Yeah, I think it's the right thing to do. So I produce credits. My yield is 1, so I go from 2 to 3. I rather would have produced food and overproduced and gotten the 3 influence, but I think I'm going to need that credit to avoid paying or losing influence later. Okay, so that was the bottom action. Now we're going to take... Ooh, the order of operations is not ideal for this, but I don't have any choice. So, okay, fine. I'll take this top action, spend 1 credit, go from 3 to 2, and 1 science, go from 10 to 9. And I can increase a pure population, which is going to have to be this one. Goes from 1 to 2. My food level can't go up, but my science level can. It goes from level 7 to level 8. My yield goes from 4 to 5. And because I have cloning, my pure population went up. I'm going to take another credit, go up to 3 again. And now I can take an action off my preferred focus, which is Conquest. So I'm going to take this top action, costs 2 energy. I've got 1 energy, so that goes to 0. One of my credits goes from 3 to 2, and I'm going to regroup now. So I'm going to move this 1, 2, and I think I'll do 3, and probably a 4th. There we go. And now I'm going to take this invade action off my agenda. I'm definitely going to use these 2 destroyers going through the wormhole to this sector. And the question is, how many corvettes do I want to bring with me? I think 2. I think I'm going to leave 2 behind. Let's leave 2 corvettes here. So we go like this. And I lose 1 corvette to the sector defense. But then I've got way more initiative. I take out this Voidborn fleet power and win the combat. So let's start resolving this. First, I get 3 glory. So 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm up to 63 influence. And there's a reclaim token here. Let's take care of that. Just in case it says sector defense, it'll save me from moving a piece around. So 1 reclaim token. It is not a sector defense. It is a scientist guild. So this goes away. Yeah, let's make some room here. Scientists Guild. So that level goes up 4 more times. So from level 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Almost maxed. My yield is 12 now on science. That's pretty cool. And now, since I'm playing Temptation Focus, I'm going to use my Purifier. So I can spend 1 science. Why did I knock that over? Keep knocking it over. I can spend up to 1 science to remove up to 1 corruption, and I can do that twice. So I'm going to spend 2 science to go from 9 down to 7. I'm going to remove this corruption from my house mat, which gains me 2 energy, and I'll remove the corruption from that sector that I just took over, which gains me 2 science. So I essentially just removed 2 corruption and got 2 energy for free. And finally, I will take this middle action here to advance my lowest track. That's this one. And now I can activate 1 fleet power and build an installation. So that sector defense is coming right back. And man, I wish I had just 1 more ability to remove a corruption from right here, because that would do a lot for me scoring-wise. But I know I'm not going to keep this agenda, so I can put this on the bottom of the stack. Man, this is a real question. I might take a catastrophe for this one. I can't take the immediate penalty, and I don't really want to take the other penalty. If I take a catastrophe, that costs me 20 influence at the end. But the catastrophe allows me to remove a corruption. If I get rid of this one, that sector defense and those 2 fleet power, that'll score me 9 influence immediately, and then 9 again, presumably the next cycle. So that just about covers the influence cost of the catastrophe token itself. It's not like the worst one in the world, but that might be a good idea. So what the heck, we'll give it a go. Let's take a catastrophe, and now I can remove a corruption. Oh, and I suppose that gets me 2 science, doesn't it? So I go from 9 to 11, and these go away. That might be my undoing, I don't know. Let's put this back on the Galactic board. And that is it for this cycle. That should be 5. 1, 2, 3. Huh? No way. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have another turn? Oh, man. Well, hold everything then. I'm not taking the catastrophe. Take that back. I thought I was about to go into scoring. Let's put this corruption back. I can't believe I haven't, because I was planning on ending the cycle with temptation. I got to give my 2 science back. Go back to 9. That means this does come back, unfortunately. So we're just going to throw it on here. We'll make it ongoing because I don't have a trade token to spend. But that is unbelievable. Okay, man, this is going to be great. I've got one more turn. Let's draw the next alert card. It's another war card. So we just resolve the crisis board and then add a Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent Voidborn sector, assuming I win the skirmish. So, okay, I'm going to play Reinforcement. It isn't going to do everything that I want to do, but I want to do so many things, so I guess it's okay. So I'm going to take the top action and the bottom action. Let's start with the top one. I've got to deactivate 1 fleet power, and now I can advance 1 track and build a sector defense. So I'm going to advance this track, and now I can increase a pure population. So this one goes from 4 to 5. So science production goes up 1 more time. That's maxed out as well. And I can remove a corruption. So I'll remove this one here. Now I gain 2 science for that because I'm playing as Kradmor. Go up to 11. And I can build a sector defense. So let's go ahead and put 1 there. And let's not forget, I have cloning and I increased a pure population. So let's go ahead and take the credit, go from 2 to 3. Now for this bottom action, I'm going to spend 1 energy, go from 2 to 1. And I can regroup and build a sector defense. So we'll build a sector defense right here. And I guess I will regroup as well. And I'll go ahead and move 1 fleet power from here through the wormhole to here. So that was all my actions. Now we resolve the war card. So first we're going to skirmish. No modifiers here. No corruption on my house mat. We skirmish at 0. So I win the skirmish. That is a successful defense. And I think the Voidborn would prefer to skirmish here because of the higher population. So I need to put I need to add a Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent sector. So it's got to be adjacent to this sector. But I can still go here because going through the wormhole, this is adjacent. Okay, and now the economic track. So I need to spend 1 material. I go from 4 to 3. 1 energy, I go from 1 to 0. And 1 science, I go from 11 to 10. That's it for the war card. And now that should be it for the cycle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, production, innovation, conquest, temptation, reinforcement. That was 5 cards. Let's go to the evaluation phase, cycle 2. So first we resolve the crisis board again, but now with +1 Voidborn fleet power, so they skirmish at 1. Either of those locations are going to lose it on the sector defense. So again, I win the skirmish, and now I must again pay 1 material, go from 3 to 2. 1 energy, I'm out, so I'll pay 1 credit, 3 to 2, and 1 science from 10 to 9. Now I need to take care of upkeep, and I've got 2, 4, 6, 8 with agendas, 9, 10, and I have exactly 10 food. So let's spend all of it, and upkeep is taken care of. So now I check for safe havens, and I do have a pure 6 population sector with 3 guilds, so I can build 1 level of safe havens. So we'll just go to the very bottom right here. I just couldn't quite get this one. I had a way to build the guilds, but not to raise the population again, so I'll surely get it next time. And now we check the Galactic event, and I don't have 8 or more pure installations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, more than I thought. But I did have 10 satisfied upkeep, which is more than 8, so I can gain an agenda. And I think I'll take a dominance agenda because some of those will score really well for me. Yeah, maybe one of these. And I think either of these would be good, but I've got a think easier time scoring that one, so we'll put this one back. That's nice to have. And that is it for... No, it's not. I keep forgetting to score. That is the most important part. So let's score these agendas. They're all pure. The first one, I have a 5 pop sector, so that's going to get me 3 influence. So I go up to 66. I have a 6 population pure sector. That's another 6 influence. So that's 72. And then multiply 3 by my econ track tier. So that's going to be 3 times 2 is 6. So that's 78. And I do now have 3 or more pure sector defenses. So that's 5. Gets me up to 83. And 2 influence for every pure fleet power I've got on the map. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 12 influence. So that's 95. I don't have 4 techs, surprisingly. I've got a couple improved ones, but I do have 2 pairs of pure sectors. So that's going to be 10 influence. So that gets me to 105. And I have 1 or fewer corruption. I've got 0, so that gets me to 111. And pairs of Pure Farmers Guild, just 1 pair. So that's another 5 influence. So I end cycle 2 at 116 influence. Not too bad, but there's still a rift out there with 3 harbingers and 3 incomplete safe havens. So I've got my work cut out for me in cycle 3, which I just now realized on this temptation card, I failed to do this Galactic Peak. I know I took all 3 actions. I used a trade token. I advanced that track. I didn't do the Galactic Peak. So let's take a quick look and figure out what that card is going to be for the 3rd cycle. Man, that would have been trouble. So it's either Knowledge is Power or a Beacon of Hope. So 5 or 6 turns. And it's nice to have the extra turn, but I think I like the stuff going on here better. So I'm going to take Knowledge is Power. So I'll just leave that out so I know that that's the Galactic event we need, because it's now time for the preparation phase for cycle 3. But I've got stuff to do. So I am going to, I'm going to pause personally and go do a bunch of stuff and come back in like 6 or 7 hours and try and finish off this game. So I will see you after the preparation phase. Here we go. All right, I'm back. It's like 5.5 hours later. I just did the preparation phase for cycle 3. Unfortunately, the one heroic card I did not get was leadership this game, so I'm not going to be able to use that one. I did have to add a harbinger to the crisis board, so I put it on the economic track. And I've been staring at my focus cards for like 45 minutes, and I think I've put together the perfect plan, but can't wait to see how the crisis cards wreck it. But I have no choice but to proceed. So let's first work through the Galactic event, which I already see something on it that I forgot about that I did not take into account. What a waste of my time. But starting at the top left here, we need to add a bounty token and a sector defense to the Voidborn sector, adjacent Voidborn sector with the highest population. So that's going to be this one here. So we're adding a bounty token and a sector defense. Then I forgot about that part there. Players with at least 1 improved technology, and I've got 2 of them, need to take a corruption to a civilization track. So I'm going to put that here on my society track. Don't love it, but I got to do it. And then players with, this bottom part here, 1 or more trade tokens gain 3 science. I don't have any trade tokens, so it says remaining players may spend 1 science to gain a trade token, and I will definitely do that. So I've got 9 science. I'm going to go down to 8 and gain a trade token. So I'll slot that right here on this starting agenda. And for my trade bonus, I'm going to take 2 credits. I go from 2 to 4. And now we're ready for the first alert card. And it is a level 3 alert. Good start. And it's a military crisis that says when resolving a politics focus, have 6 or more installations adjacent to at least 1 harbinger. Otherwise, add a Harbinger to adjacent Voidborn sector and skirmish. I really don't need more Harbingers right now, but luckily there's one Harbinger here that's already adjacent, that I'm adjacent to with 4 installations, so it's not impossible, but I'm not going to do it this turn. So I will proceed with my master plan, and that means starting with innovation focus, and I'm going to take this action here in the middle. I have to spend 2 science. So I go from 8 down to 6, and I can gain a tech, and I'm taking dreadnoughts. This is going to be awesome. I've never had dreadnoughts and destroyers at the same time before, so that gets me 4 influence. From 116, I go up to 120, and I can deploy into dreadnought fleets at a cost of 1 material per fleet power. And my dreadnought fleets are limited to a maximum of 1 fleet power per token, so I will take this immediate bonus of deploying a dreadnought to my home sector. So there we go. That's going to cost me 1 material. So I go from 2 to 1. And I don't know if I took into account having resources to pay for all of these things I'm going to do with my master plan. So this should be interesting. Oh boy, I'll be cutting it close. But okay, I'm going to take this top action I've decided, which costs 2 food. And I didn't really think about it. I was like, I got tons of food, but I spent it all at the end of the last cycle on upkeep. So I'm going to spend 2 credits. I go from 4 to 2. And now I can produce science and produce credits. So credits, I get, my yield is 1, so I go back up to 3. Science, I'm at 6, and I produce 15. So I just overproduce science. So that's at 15 now, and I gain 3 influence for that. So I'm up to 123. And actually, then I gain 1 influence for each pure Scientist Guild or Bankers Guild. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 qualifying guilds. So another 4 influence gets me to 127. And that is the innovation card. And I'm pretty scared about this, but I'm going to make this an ongoing crisis on the military track. I really don't want another Harbinger on the board, but I also don't want to take the catastrophe token. So hopefully I can achieve that one because I'm kind of close to it. So let's draw the next alert. And it's a level 2 alert. And it's a general crisis. It says remove a Harbinger. Okay, I might be able to do that. So let's hope I get extremely lucky with this turn. I am going to play Politics to take Heroic Politics. And I am going to spend a trade token to take all 3 actions. And unfortunately, I can't take the actions in the order that I want to because I would be leaving some of the costs for some of the actions up to luck. So I'm going to be a little bit suboptimal here. Let's start by taking the bottom action. I'm going to remove a installation from a non-home sector. So that's going to be, this sector defense here because that's not really doing anything anymore. Oh, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that yet. That is also suboptimal, but I can avoid that. All right, we're going to start instead with the top action. So that's going to cost me 2 credits and 1 science. So I've got 3 credits. That goes down to 1. My 15 science goes down to 14, and now I can advance my statecraft track and also gain a trade token. So let's gain the trade token first. So I get that, and I need to take 2 credits as my reward for that, or my bonus. So I go from 1 back to 3, and then advance the statecraft track, so that goes up to here, and then the reward there is I go up a second time, so I can activate 1 fleet power, and I can build an installation. So I'm going to build a shipyard, and I'm going to build it here. It's not really where I want to build it, but that's where I'm going to go. And now I'm going to take the second action, so that's going to cost 2 energy, and I don't have any energy, so I'm going to spend 2 credits, so I'm down to 1. And 1 science, so I go from 14 to 13. And now I can invade, and I can remove a Voidborn fleet power from an adjacent sector. So I'm actually going to invade first. So I'm going to invade this sector with 2 destroyers, 2 improved destroyers, and 1 corvette. Let's just leave 1 corvette behind for a second. So we go in like this, and there are 2 sector defense there, so I lose a corvette and a destroyer. So those 2 fleet power go back there. They get recalled. This is the one I left behind. Just leave the token there. So I've got 1 destroyer left, and it's an improved destroyer. So on approach, it does 1 damage. So it takes out one of these fleet power. And when we go to the first salvo, the destroyer is worth 1+1. So I've got more initiative, and I actually fire twice. So I take out this fleet power and win the combat. So let's start by grabbing this glory token, value 4. So I've got 4, 3, 2, and 1. That's 10. So I go from 127 to 137. Nice. And take out the installations. And there is a bounty token there and 2 reclaim tokens. So let's grab those. Start with the bounty token. Get 2 energy. Okay, that's good. I mean, I'm sure I'll use it because I'm hurting for resources. And 2 reclaims. So that was a very nice sector to get. Come on. 1, 2. I'm always happy when I grab them face down. It's better for the suspense. So in this sector, I gain 1 Engineers Guild and another Engineers Guild. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. So this goes here, and this one goes here, and that is 8 levels that my energy production goes up. So it goes from 0 to 8, and now my yield goes from 0 to 5. It's kind of too bad, though. If one of those had been an installation, I would have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 installations adjacent to 1 Harbinger. So that did not achieve the level 3 crisis that I hoped it would. Oh, shoot, and I'm in big trouble because that is when resolving politics focus, so I won't even get another chance to do anything about that. That's bad. Okay. But I do remove this Harbinger from the map, and okay. Yowza. Let's let's put it here. Makes me nervous. But that's what we'll do. And I removed a Harbinger now, so that solves this crisis. Board's getting real full, though. And so now I will take this third action, so I'll remove a non-home installation as the cost to remove a corruption from a sector. So that's going to be this one. And Kradmor's bonus is 2 science for that. So I go from 13 back up to 15. And I can remove a Harbinger. And I think it's got to be this one. I got to get the points down. So that is all 3 actions. So this trade token goes back. Oh, I can't let it sit like that. No. This way. There we go. And I solved the crisis, so I can get rid of the alert card and get rid of the heroic card. And now we draw the next alert. And it's another level 2. So this is a military crisis. Come on, choose to recall twice from your home sector. Otherwise, pay 3 food. Man, that is not going to happen. So here I'm going to deviate from my master plan and play production. And I'll pair it with an agenda and flip a trade token. None of that was planned, but I think I need to do it. So I'm going to start with this bottom action. So I need to take a corruption, and I'm going to place it here in this 2 population sector. And I need to spend an energy, so I go from 2 to 1. And that allows me to build a guild. So I'm going to put, I guess, an engineer's guild here and gain 5 more levels. So I'm at 8, that goes up to level 13, which is maxed out, so 15 yield. And then I can advance my society track. So I do, but it is corrupted, so I don't gain the bonus. The bonus would have been to gain a might agenda, which would have come with another corruption, so I guess it's okay. And now I will take the middle action, which is free, and I'm going to take, I'm going to take the bottom part. I'm going to advance my economic track, so that goes up. Oh, and for both of these, I'm going into tier 3. I need to deactivate 1 fleet power each. And now the bonus for this is I gain an agenda and a trade token. And let's start with the trade token. Grab this here. And the bonus that I'm going to take for the trade token is 2 basic resources. I'm going to take 1 food and 1 material. So food goes from 0 to 1. Material goes from 1 to 2. And then as for the agenda, I'm going to take a support agenda, and I'm going to look at the top 2 from the stack. We've got optimized power supply and the salvation project. And I don't think either of those is going to score very well for me, but I will take the Salvation Project into hand. All right, and now I'm going to take my agenda action to place a guild and then produce that type of resource. And so I'm going to build a farmer's guild here. I'm already maxed on my farmers or food production, so I just produce it. I have 1. I produce 15, so I overproduce by 1. That's going to get me 3 influence. So that goes up to 140. All right, so that was my agenda action. And now I'll take the last action here, which is going to cost 1 food, which I now have, and 1 material. So I'll pay the material. That goes down to 1. And I can remove a corruption, so I'll take this one. And that gives me 2 energy. So my energy goes from 1 to 3. And then I can produce energy. And I'm maxed out there too. So this will also overproduce. So I'm at 15 energy. I gain another 3 influence up to 143, and now I've overproduced twice in 1 turn, so I can build another level of Safe Haven, and I will do that. And for the bonus, I'm actually going to deploy 2 fleet power, and so I'm going to deploy 2 destroyers. Right there, I think that's what I want to do. No, actually, I'll deploy 1 destroyer there and 1 dreadnought. So the dreadnought costs me a material to deploy. And then, where is it? This one, this crisis, after you deploy, choose to also spend 5 basic resources in any combination. You may not use credits. I will spend 5 energy now. So I go from 15 down to 10, and that crisis card is resolved. And that was all 3 of my actions, plus my agenda action. And now I am going to take the penalty on this one. I'm going to spend 3 food. So it goes from 14 down to 11. That's fine. And this card goes away. So this trade token goes back up here. And this one gets slotted. And do I want to slot that agenda or not? That is a question. Let me do some math here. And the answer is no. That is not going to score better than anything that I already have. So now we can take that alert card. And I think that went pretty well for a turn on the fly. So I'm in decent shape. I've played 3 cards. I've got 2 more to play. I think it's going to be great. Let's draw the next alert. It's a 1. That's nice. And it's a general crisis. After you gain a trade token, choose to also spend 1 credit. I don't know that I really want to do that. The immediate penalty is to get rid of a non-home sector guild, and I could probably afford that somewhere. But now I'm going to play Reinforcement, and I'm taking Heroic Reinforcement, pairing it with this agenda, and do I want to use the trade token? And the answer to that is no. I'm going to hold on to it. So I'm going to start with the agenda action. I'm going to activate 1 fleet power, and I'm going to build an installation, and so that's going to be a sector defense here. And now I will take this top action, so that's going to cost 4 resources of any type. I'll spend 4 science, so I go from 15 down to 11. And now I've got 3 actions available to me. The first one I'm going to take is to advance my lowest track, so that's my statecraft track. So that goes up, and now I can gain a tech, and I'm going to gain an advanced tech, and I'm going with improved dreadnoughts. So that's going to get me 6 influence. So I go from 143 to 149. And I can activate 1 fleet power and deploy 1 dreadnought. And that's not necessarily to my home sector. That is anywhere. And my dreadnought fleets are no longer limited in power. So I can flip these over to their improved side. It's a little bit brighter, matches the improved tech color there. And now they have 3 slots. And that is extremely satisfying. So in order to deploy a dreadnought, I've got to pay 1 material still, and I'm out of material, so I'm going to pay 1 credit, down to 0 credits. And now I can deploy a dreadnought, and I'm going to do that here. And now I will take this part of the action, the regroup, so I can move 1 fleet power, or I can move 5 fleet power. So I'm going to move this improved dreadnought 1, 2, 3 through the wormhole, 4 to here. I can take that token back. And finally, I gain 4 resources of any type that I want, and I am going to grab 4 credits. So I go from 0 to 4. And now I will take this bottom action, so I need to take a corruption, and I'm going to put that here on my economics track. And now I can either build 2 installations or remove 1 crisis card as long as it's a general or military crisis. And I was thinking I was going to do the installations, but I don't really need to now. So I'm going to remove a military crisis. I'm going to take this one off because I have no way of solving it. So I think I would have been okay for skirmishes, but that'll save me some points at the end of the game for not having it on the board. So those are my 2 actions here and my agenda action. And I know I don't want to slot this agenda, so I'll put it on the bottom. And I can put the heroic card away. And sadly, I'm not going to get this to a level or a 6 population sector. So to pay this cost, I'm going to get rid of this Engineers Guild. And that's going to bring my energy level from 13 down to 10. So my yield is now 8, and so that cost is paid. So that'll save me on 1 upkeep, because the rule is, as you just saw, you only pay upkeep on the 3rd, and you are supposed to shift them down if you remove 1. So it's not like the Farmer's Guild has to stay there and I pay an upkeep on it. You shift them down. That's the right thing to do. So I've got 1 turn left. I'm very excited for it. Let's see what the alert card is. It is a level 2 alert. And this last one is a general crisis. After resolving an innovation focus, choose to also remove a scientist guild. Otherwise, you can consume the leftmost improved tech. So that's probably what I'm going to do, because consumed techs are 5 influence each for the Voidborn. Ongoing crises are 5 influence each. But if I put this on the board, even though the influence number is the same, it's going to affect either my skirmish or my economic track, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to end up burning a tech, and I think I'll be okay with that. So my last card is going to be Temptation, and I will take the Heroic Temptation. I will pair it with this Agenda, and I will use this trade token. So big turn. And actually, I'm going to start by taking this bottom action, and I'm going to spend this Agenda. I think this one will score me 1 point less than this one. So this one goes away. That's too bad. So I finally got enough Farmers Guilds, but that's okay. And now I activate 1 fleet power. I can deploy 1 fleet power to my home sector, which I may as well do. I don't have a reason not to. And I can produce 2 resources that are different types. So I'm going to produce food, which is at 11, and I'll produce 15 of that. And I'll produce energy, which is at 10, and I produce 8 of that. So both of those overproduce. So that'll get me another 6 influence in total. So I go from 149 to 155. And because I overproduced twice in 1 turn, I can build a level of Safe Haven. So I'm now going to deactivate a fleet power and put it there. And now I'm going to take my agenda action to invade, and I'm going to invade the Rift. And I think I'm going to do that with 2 dreadnoughts and both of these destroyers here. So I invade. There is a sector defense, but my dreadnoughts as attackers have approach absorption, so I don't take a hit, and then my improved destroyers do 1 approach damage to the Voidborn. And now we add up the initiative. I've got 4 for my fleet power, plus 1 for the dreadnoughts, plus 1 for the attacking destroyers. So I'm at 6, and the Voidborn are at 2 with their corvettes, and my destroyers do 1 extra damage to the first salvo. So I do 2 damage, wipe out the Voidborn, and combat's over. I haven't lost a fleet power. So that's pretty nice. Let's go ahead and get my 10 influence here. I go up to 165, and I've got to take that darn Harbinger. Fine. And now, because I closed a rift, I can either gain 5 resources of any type, or I can remove a corruption. And let's go ahead and remove a corruption. And I think I'll remove this one here to gain 2 science. So 11 up to 13. I could have removed this one off my track, but I would have gone, I'm already at 15 energy, so it wouldn't have really mattered. Might as well get some science. because I think resources are going to be worth something at the end. I don't know if they'll be worth more than installations or not, but let's do that. And now I've got to flip that tile over and put a pure population die of set to 1. All right, I'd say that went pretty well. So that was this action. I still have 2 more actions to take. And you know what? Before I do that, I didn't need what I had there. I'm going to do this because the outcome would have been exactly the same, and I just didn't need it. So I'm recalculating, and that's what I want to do. So if you don't like it, too bad. I'm playing. Actually, you know what? I don't even know why I'm doing that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We'll leave it there. Hope you're satisfied. All right, let's do this action next. I need to spend 4 resources of any type, and that's going to be 4 science. I go from 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. All right, and now I can take a preferred action or an action off a preferred focus. So my only preferred focus is Conquest, and I'm going to take this first action, spend 2 energy. So I've got 15, that goes down to 13, and now I'm going to invade again. I probably should have done this invasion first. It would have gotten me a few more points, but it's not the end of the world. It's fine. It's not worth it to go back. So I'm going to leave 1 destroyer behind and invade like that. So again, there's 1 sector defense, but my invading dreadnoughts absorb it, and then my destroyer does 1 approach damage. And now again, I have the initiative. I have a destroyer, so I get to do 2 salvo damage in the first salvo. That takes out the Voidborn. I win the combat. So now I gain this glory token. See, I should have, if I'd gone in the other order, I would have scored this one twice, but it's whatever. So I get, that's 15. So that's up to 170, 180. Okay. And the sector defense goes away. And so there's 2 pre-printed bankers guilds there. So my bankers level goes up by 12, and I'm at 2. So that's going to be maxed out with a yield of 8. Not that I'll be producing any credits. And then I don't get any other bonuses for taking over that sector. But now I'm going to take this action last. I need to take a corruption to a civilization track and then advance it. So I'll go here to the statecraft track. I advance it. I'm still going into tier 3, so I need to deactivate a fleet power. All right. And now I can advance any track of my choice. And I'm going to advance civilization, or the society track. So I need to deactivate 2 fleet power. There's 1, and I'll just recall this one from my home sector and then deactivate it. There's 2. And so that allows me now to build 1 level of safe haven. Let's not forget that. And I also get 20 influence. So I go from 180 to 200. And what do I want to do here? I think the best thing to do would be to remove a corruption. So I'll take this one. And that gets me 2 science. So I go from 9 to 11. And now because I am playing Temptation, I'm going to spend 2 science with my Purifier to remove 2 corruption. And they're both from my house mat. So that gets me 4 energy, but I max out at 15 because I was at 13. So that is all of my actions. I'm going to reslot this trade token on the Galactic board. I'm going to slot this agenda here, and the heroic card goes away. And as for this crisis, my earlier analysis, I still stand by it, so I'm going to consume this improved tech. And I think that is it for the second part. Focus part. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. That is it for cycle 3 actions. So now we go into the cycle 3 evaluation phase, and it begins with resolving the crisis board. So I need to skirmish at 1 plus 1 because we're in cycle 3, so skirmish at 2. So let's just look at every valid target. If 2 come here, they both lose to the sector defense. If 2 come in here, they both lose to the sector defense. If 2 come here, 1 is destroyed by the sector defense, and then my remaining dreadnought will have 1 more initiative and 1 salvo absorption, so I'm going to win there too. These 2 sectors back here are not adjacent to any Voidborn sectors, neither is this one. It's just adjacent to a fallen sector. So wherever the skirmish happens, I win. That's good. On the economic track, I need to pay some resources here. So 2 energy I've got. 2 materials, I don't have any, but I'll pay 2 credits. And then 1 science, that goes down to 8. Now let's take a look at upkeep. This will be a big one. So I have no trade tokens, so that's going to be 8 upkeep just from my agendas. Then I've got 9, 10, 11, and then a 12th just for having that sector. So 12 upkeep is quite a bit. I've got 15 food, so that'll just go down to 3. All right, and now we check for, again, safe havens. I've got 1 pure 6 population sector with 3 guilds, so I can, I guess, build a level of safe haven, but that doesn't really matter. If I could have raised the population one more time, I could have had this one. I just would have removed one of these guilds instead of that one. And then if I could have added a guild there, that would have been another. So I wasn't terribly far off from finishing this one too, which would have been really cool. But that's all right. So let's take a look at the Galactic event. I can get 1 influence for every 2 resources I have. So let's add all those up. I've got 3 and 13 is 16, 17, 18, plus 8 is 26. So 26 over 2 would be 13 influence, or I can get 2 influence for every pure installation. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 2 would be 14. So 1 more influence if I go with the installations. That's fine. So I'm up to 214. Now I score my agendas. So pure sectors with 5 population, I've got 1 of those. So that's going to be 3 influence, 217. Pure sectors with 6 population, I do have 2 of those, so that's going to be 12 influence in total. So 19, 29, 229, and then 3 influence for whatever tier, multiplied by the tier for my econ track. So it's 3 times 3 is 9, so that's going to be 238. Then if I have at least 3 pure sector defense, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then I get 5 influence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 243. And then 2 influence for every pure fleet power I have on the map. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times 2 is 16. So 149, 259, 259. I do have 4 techs finally, so that's going to be 4 influence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 263. And then every pair of pure sectors I have will be 5 influence. That's 5, 10, 15. I don't get anything for the straggler, so 15 influence. 1 or 2, 78. And if I have at least 1 pure sector with 6 population, and I've got 2 of them, that's 5 influence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 283. And then 4 influence times whatever tier my society track is in. So 4 times 4 is 16. So that goes up to 9. Oh, man, 299. I couldn't have found 1 influence somewhere else. 299, huh? Okay, well, that's pretty darn good. Let's score up the Voidborn now. And I played on the standard difficulty, the medium, regular, whatever it's called. So I started 100, or the Voidborn started 100. No open rifts, but there is an incomplete safe haven, so that goes up to 120. No catastrophe tokens, no harbingers left on the map. 1 consumed tech, so that's going to be 5. So we're up to 125. Fallen houses, there are 2, so that's going to be 131. I skipped over any remaining crisis cards, but there's none. So 2 influence for every corruption everywhere in the game. So there's this one over here, nothing here. So it's a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 5 corruption, so that's 10 influence total. That's pretty good. And then 1 influence for every population in a Voidborn sector, and there's not many of those. It's just going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is 146. That's the final score. So 299 to 146. I think I did okay. So feeling pretty good about that one. In particular, like I said, I haven't played with Kradmor in a long time, and I kind of struggled with it the last few times I played. So definitely the playthroughs I've done over the last few months have really helped. Yeah, I guess technically I gotta discard one of these, right? That fine. That didn't affect anything, but I just thought I'd point it out since I noticed it. But yeah, I think that went really well. I was just trying my hardest to get another one of these tracks into the tier 4, or to, get that to a 6 population, or to build a guild back there, because it would have been really nice to finish off this safe haven. But that was definitely a very effective third cycle. I did a lot of invading of big sectors, so that was pretty cool. And so, like I said, this was the last map in the compendium for solo. So I've played every map at least once on this channel. I've played them multiple times myself, but I'm interested in if anybody has certain combinations they want to see. I know somebody's already reached out and said they'd like to see Today Is Not the Day with Nervo. I think it may have been Nervo B. I can't remember if it was A or B off the top of my head, or if they had a preference, but they wanted it on hard mode, so I've got that on the docket. And then there's also one more map I'd like to try out. It's the map that came with the Stellar Nursery promo tile. That was not officially a Mind Clash product. That was something David Terzi sold on the side, and I don't have it, so it's like a special sector tile, but I believe the directions say you can use it in place of the Survivors Colony, and it comes with like one map that's designed to use the Stellar Nursery, but I'd be curious to play that and replace the Stellar Nursery with the Survivors Colony and just see what that's like to play. So I might do that at some point. But what I'm really looking to do is just more Voidfall playthroughs. I just want to keep playing as I have been. I'm not looking to do like any wacky challenges or anything, but just if there's certain houses you want to see, if there's certain levels you'd like to see again, certain origins or starting techs, like let me know, and I'll try and keep these going. I've been doing like roughly one every 4 to 6 weeks, so I'll try and just keep that cadence going for a while. I don't know how long I'll keep doing that, but I don't have any intention of not playing Voidfall after this, so don't worry about that. And of course, this was the first one in 4K, so let me know how it looked to you. Hopefully, you could see what was going on much better. So I think there would be benefit to playing through all the levels again, just so you can see everything. And if that's something you're interested in watching, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, leave a like on this video, leave me some comments to let me know specifically what house, what starting tech, what scenario do you want to see. If there's certain techs in the offer that you would like, let me know and I'll try and do that. And again, if you're interested in any of these special components that I was using, especially these fleet tokens, are super cool. Head over to Brain Bucket Games on Etsy and you can pick those up, and I think you'll be as happy with them as I am. But that's what I've got this time. This has been really cool. This was a good series, and I'm just going to keep it going. I know a lot of people found this channel through Voidfall, so I don't intend to stop playing. But that is going to be it for this video. So thank you very much for sticking with me and watching this, and I hope you had a great journey through these 8 levels in the compendium, and let's do it all again. So thanks for watching. Have a great week, and I will see you in the next video.